Okay, so I have a very simple framework for setting goals that I've adopted and that I would like to share because it's very helpful, it's very simple, and it is one of the goal frameworks that you can use if you want to start improving your life and start setting goals and start, trying to get stuff done. So this is just one goal setting framework. There are many, 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 many out there, but this is the one that I use, at least for right now. Before we get into what the framework actually is, I want to talk about why you should set goals and why you should use this specific framework. So why should we set goals? Well, first we need to define what are goals. The way I define it is that goals are kind of like checkpoints to achieve in our life so that we can improve ourselves or aid a certain situation. So if we want to improve ourselves, then we need these clearly defined checkpoints to measure and sort of check where we are, like a checkpoint. If you don't set goals, then it's a lot harder to improve consistently and intentionally with a good system and plan. It's kind of just based on luck, which is not very sustainable. If you really want to truly improve at a consistent rate, then you have to set goals. So, why should we use this specific framework for setting goals? There are a lot of frameworks out there. This is the one that I use. I like it because it's pretty simple and doesn't require any intense or complicated plan or system, and it covers a broad scope of goals because all goals kind of fall into these three buckets that I'm going to talk about, and that covers a lot of what you might want to achieve into these three buckets, so you can include a lot of stuff in your goals. And also, you're only working on a few things at a time. It's not like you have the freedom to set like 10, 20 goals. I've tried that. It does not work. So you're only working on a few goals at a time, which allows for more focus and more growth within those specific areas. And once you accomplish those, you can move on to a separate goal. So, what is this framework that I am talking about? It is just to set a spiritual, mental, and physical goal to work towards. So it's only 3 goals, and optionally, I like to do this. Not only is there like a goal that you can work on every day, but to also link it to a habit so that you can always have like a baseline to fall back on every day. If you aren't able to work specifically on the goal, you can just have a habit to work towards. So, to reiterate this framework, it allows for a broad scope of things to work on without being overwhelming because you're only working on 3 goals, but those 3 goals are pretty broad: spiritual, mental, and physical, kind of like the 3 main parts of you, your spiritual, mental, and physical self. And so that just allows for a lot of very broad goals to have to work on each of those 3 areas of you. How can we get started to using this framework? The way I did it is that I just got an index card, or just like you can get a small piece of paper, or maybe just a notebook or a post-it note, however you like, and just write down your spiritual, mental, and physical goal. You don't have to overcomplicate it. They are pretty broad. You could either go with a more broad goal or a more specific goal. It's kind of like improving in small chunks versus improving with this big goal that once you do accomplish really has a high return on investment, if that makes sense. So depending on what you would like, you could either do a broad goal or a very specific goal. So just write down your spiritual, mental, and physical goals on this one small index card or piece of paper. And again, optionally, I like to include a habit that I want to grow along with trying to work on this goal. So let me give an example. My mental goal right now is to build a good study system for the upcoming school year. And the habit that I have linked to that is to, that's upside down, is to be reading Make It Stick, which is a book about learning how to learn, basically. So that's the habit that's linked to my create a study system. But then there are also things that I can do to work specifically on that goal. So like making like a Notion template, or, you know, just compiling all of the ideas that I know and creating the whole system, that kind of thing. So you can link a habit to it, such as a learning or like a creative process, and have that habit that you can repeat every day along with the specific tasks you need to do to accomplish that goal. Because if, let's say for one day, you weren't able to work specifically on that goal, but you still have this short habit or this small habit that you can still accomplish that will help move the needle for that goal, but doesn't directly focus on that. I hope that makes sense. And also sometimes the goals are only comprised of a habit, like learning more about God. That's basically the biggest thing you can do for that, is just reading your Bible, which is a habit that you can do every day. So, also, I know there was research done that showed that if you just write down your goals, like physically, pen and paper, then you're 42% more likely to achieve it. Which is absolutely, that's like a lot. So write down your goals. Get that index card, get that piece of paper, and write down your goals. So once you have this index card or a small piece of paper or wherever you wrote down this goal, I encourage you to make it physical rather than digital, because again, writing it down physically, 42% more likely to achieve it. But also, the way I do it is that I have this little piece of paper and I tape it to a very commonly used device or very commonly seen part of my room or my living area. So I taped it to the left-hand side of my trackpad on my computer, so I can see it. Every time I open up my computer, I see it, and I am reminded of my spiritual, mental, and physical goals. So once you have this index card, put it somewhere like that. I like putting it on my computer. Maybe you can put it on your desk, on your door, maybe on a mirror, something like that. Once you have your goals set, you have to take action. You have to start working on your goal every single day consistently, and, you know, just taking action. In a way, this is the easy part, you know, just doing the goal. But it's not, because we procrastinate, we neglect our responsibilities. So yeah, for me, I like to try to accomplish my spiritual, mental, and physical goals as early as possible in the day, because these 3 goals, if I accomplish these 3, then I'll feel good about the day. But if I only accomplish one, or don't accomplish any, then I feel kind of empty for the day. So if I just accomplish these 3 sort of non-negotiables, then I'll feel like, okay, today was a good day. I was able to get these things done. So prioritize these 3 things. Try to get them done as early as possible. Obviously, that is not possible to do every single day, but I try to, just get them done as early as possible during the day, especially during summertime where I don't really have many responsibilities. I don't have a lot of school right now, so I can just get these things done and then move on with my day. So a couple tips to accomplish your goals without sort of straying away from them and just kind of forgetting about them. Number 1, have a why. Have your why to doing it. When you don't want to do something, or you're procrastinating it, or, you know, whatever the situation may be, it is very helpful to have a why, a reason why you want to accomplish this goal. This is helpful for just anything and everything. There's that popular book by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. It just provides a purpose, basically, for your actions and decisions. Okay, so let's use another example. Like I mentioned previously, my mental goal is to try to build a solid study system for the upcoming school year. So what is my why for this? My why for this is that last school year, I get pretty good grades normally. But last year in my biology class, there were a few chapters and a few modules where I was kind of struggling, and I was getting annoyed at myself because I felt like I knew the material, but I wasn't able to apply the material to higher level, higher order problem solving. And that frustrated me a lot. So I never want that to happen to me again. So me building the study system helps prevent that. That's kind of my motivation. I don't want to have that unsure feeling and the unconfidence when I walk in to take my test. I want to be confident that I'm going to get a high score. Also, it's fun. So another thing to help you accomplish your goals is that it is absolutely necessary to stay consistent, which is very hard. It sounds simple, just like do this thing every day. It sounds very simple, but it is harder than it seems. What I do, if I just think I have to do this thing every day, then just make it the first thing you do in the morning. As soon as you wake up, do this thing, because that is your peak productivity window. Some of you might know what that means, but basically when you wake up, you are fresh, you have high energy, and you can just get this thing done quickly. So prioritize it every single day. Prioritize these goals every single day. Like I mentioned earlier, try to get them done as early as possible. There are other techniques or tips that you can use for staying consistent, such as having an accountability partner, which is very helpful as long as they actually do keep you accountable and you don't just tell them and then they don't do anything about it. So having an accountability partner is really helpful. I know there's a lot of online communities where people have like focus groups online and focus on their goals together and keep themselves accountable. So accountability is a really helpful thing to have when you're trying to work on these goals that you really care about. And then the last thing that I have to say here is that with this framework, this is just a simple goal setting framework. I'm just telling you that if you want to start creating goals, then just have a spiritual goal, a mental goal, and a physical goal. But all of these goal setting frameworks, they're just sort of baselines. They're just like a skeleton for you to work on and to adapt to if you need to. So feel free to change this. Feel free to add more categories. You can have a creative goal. You can have a monetary goal. I like creative and monetary. Those are two categories that I'm trying to incorporate slowly, along with the spiritual, mental, and physical. I encourage you to be more broad. The broader, the better, because you can have less goals. And if you have less goals, then you can focus more on each goal instead of being sort of 20% on each goal. It's better to be 100% on each goal. So honestly, the less goals, the better, but feel free to add categories. I like having spiritual, mental, physical, and then monetary and creative. Sometimes I put creative into the mental side of things. So yeah, that is my very simple framework that I use to set goals for myself. Set a spiritual, mental, and physical goal that you can accomplish every day. That's about it. Like the video. Yeah, if you do use it, then comment down below what your experiences were with it, and let me know how it goes. So subscribe for more I guess it's just self-improvement content. Okay.